Okay, we're recording now whenever you want to start.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? It's good to see you. We seem to have a small group this morning, so do you would you mind unmiking yourselves and letting me know who you are and who your student is? I, I guess I should start by saying I'm Kim Bolden. I'm the principal, and it's good to see you all. That would probably be the best way to start. My apologies. And I just want to say thank you to Nikki and the PTSA for hosting our chat this morning. Really appreciate it. And so maybe if we just start, if you could just unmic yourselves and tell me who you are and who your student is here at Wooten. Don't do that.
Okay, I'll I'll jump in. My name's Irene Ray. My youngest daughter's Kayla Ray, and she's in ninth grade.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here, Miss Ray.
Hi,
My name,
go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, thank you. My name is Margaret Lee, and I have two kids. One daughter, Sharon Lee. She's in 10th grade, and my son, Daniel Lee, he's in 11th grade. Thank you for hosting this chat.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. And two kids at Wooten. All right, keep you busy, huh? Nice to see you, Miss Lee.
Miss Borden, my name is Zhongchun Wang. My son is Aiden, 10th grader.
Oh, nice to meet you, Mr. Wang. Thank you for being here.
Nice to meet you too.
Hi, I'm Elena Zlochenko, and my daughter Ilana is a 10th grader, and thank you for hosting it. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. We have a lot of 10th graders, 10th grade parents on the call. Nice.
Allie Kobe, and I have Jacob Fellman as a freshman.
Nice to meet you. It's very good to meet you. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I believe there are more participants, and hopefully as we move through the chat, we can, please feel free to unmic yourself and introduce yourself. I have some questions that were submitted in advance. Thank you so much. I love to hear and see what parents are thinking as we move through this very unusual and strange time and are trying to figure this out together. So this really helps to guide my thinking and guide our thinking as a leadership team. We take the questions, we take the responses that we have back to ILT along with what our students are telling us, along with what our staff is telling us to see what kinds of adjustments we can make as we move forward. So I think what I'll do there, it's really interesting. There's some questions I can answer immediately, and then there's some questions I think will probably have more of discussions around. And so I think I'll answer the questions that are easiest first, and then we will continue to have a larger discussion really about grading and reporting, about stress levels. That seemed to be the theme, and appropriately so as we're heading into the end of the first marking period. So there was a question about SSL. I would like to know how to find the SSL hours summary in the new system. Thank you for that question. As I was researching that question, I went on our website and it looked like it was a little out of date. My apologies. It has since been corrected. So the best place to go for that source of information is our Wooten website. We have a new SSL coordinator, Mr. Christopher Thompson. All of his information is there. If you have specific questions for him, but also if you just look at the website, you'll see that we've asked all the students to join a Canvas page for this year because we are virtual to receive information about SSL and opportunities and the requirements. And so that's going to be the best source of information, what students need to do for pre-approval and all of that. I will say this immediately that the state has not relaxed or reduced the requirement for 75 hours as a graduation requirement. And so last year for the class of 2020, they did change that requirement ever so slightly for the students in the class of 2020 who had not achieved those hours by that graduation. But that is not the case for all of our current students. All current students are working towards the 75 hours that are required for the state graduation requirement. And again, if you just go to our website, I just made sure it was updated with all the correct information. You can find more specific information regarding opportunities, how to submit forms, deadlines and due dates, which have also been relaxed a little bit, so that everything you need is right there. So thank you for that question, and thank you for making sure that I go back and look to make sure we have the most up-to-date information on our website. Another question was a little interesting. Why are the school issued laptops not preloaded with software to limit access to social media sites such as Instagram? They should be. But we know that our students are genius with technology, and sometimes they get around some of the walls that are there. I sent this question to our tech office just so I can get a clearer understanding. I'll be honest with you, in the school, they learned, we had some firewalls to protect from social media, and they still worked around it using the Wi-Fi. And I think that that's what's happening on the Chromebook. And so again, as much as you can to reinforce that during the school hours and you're on those pages, you are to be working. There are some areas where, if a student is on a site that is prohibited, then we do get a report of that, and from the technology office, or if there's something inappropriate about it, not necessarily that they've gone to Instagram, for example, but if they've gone to some sites that are inappropriate and dangerous, then that we do sometimes get we do get those notifications from technology office. But I just ask if you monitor it and explain that once they're on a school device, they are responsible for using it appropriately and responsibly, and they should not be on those social media sites, excuse me. All right, so the next few questions, and I think the same questions were in the chat around the reteach, reassess, grading period, submission of late work, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the next, what I hope to be really more of a discussion around, and to answer the questions as best as I can. I want to preview the question so you understand the topic. Have teachers noticed that students' grades are tending to be lower this year compared to past years? In other words, are the students having trouble adapting to learning in this virtual environment, or does this not seem to be much of a problem for students that are actively engaged? The truth of the matter is, in terms of our virtual environment, we're still collecting data to see how we're doing. This is the first time we've ever done anything like this without a lot of lead time to structure it. And the first data point that we've had since we've gone into virtual learning really is from interim data, which we had a few weeks ago. And in our interim data, we do have an uptick of students with D's and E's. And it's hard to balance out why. Is it, is it that students are not engaging? Is it that students, there are some attendance concerns? Is there concerns accessing the material? There are a range and host of reasons why we're trying to unpack and see what is it that's causing some of the barriers in terms of our students and their level of engagement. We typically at interim time, we send out the interim and a lot of busyness and things come in. That's the reason we give the signal of where they are 4 weeks in. But yeah, we are having some questions and are having some discussions in IELTS in our instructional leadership team, and how are we responding to that data. But in terms of the data source, that's the one piece of data that we have that really is starting to shed light on what is happening in our virtual environment specifically. We've also talked about and trying very hard to make sure that the county's policy of erring on the side of the student, having leniency, making sure that we're offering opportunities for students to reteach and reassess and submit work. We are really trying to make sure that we are doing this in a way that's benefiting our students and making sure that we're supporting their learning, particularly in this time where we're so disconnected and it's very difficult to do that. And yes, I'm going to say right now, we're trying, again, there's a lot of question around the variance of that and how we're implementing it, and hearing from this department and that department, what's happening there. And we're trying to really get a handle on all of the variety of ways in which we're implementing our policies. They are implemented in a way that the departments make some decisions because they're working as PLCs. There has to be some consistency with assignments, some consistency with reteach, reassess opportunities within the departments, and those are department level decisions. However, the question that we're asking now is what else can we do? What more can we do? Because we're realizing, again, from our data, that we just need to ensure that we're giving students more opportunities. We're giving students the best opportunities they can. Having said that, this is the hard part on the other side, because the next question I had is, do teachers have enough time to cover all the material that they need to cover, especially AP teachers? So we have a wide range of students, a wide range of classes, policies that are set to guide a pandemic, a schedule that is different than what we've had before, with teachers or students spending 2 hours in classes on any given week for each subject area. So when I outline all of that, I can tell you that, our teachers are working incredibly hard. They are working the best they can to meet the curricular demands, to meet the challenges, and also to look at their classes and the individual circumstances of their students to figure out how to make all of this work. And I can just tell you, it hasn't been easy for anyone, students, staff, parents. We're all trying to figure out the best way forward in a situation that we've never experienced. So, and that's the thing, is that we do have guidance and curriculum that we have implemented from AP. We have MCPS curriculum that we are implementing, and we're all on a timeline now with grades and going back to a grading system for this year. Grades are all due at the same time, which means that the assignments in each class are going to probably pace within the same windows. Interims were due at the same time. The end of the quarter is the same time. And so as much flexibility that teachers want to give, there are still some hard stops for us in terms of making sure that work is in, making sure that we have what we need to assess our students. And so I say that because I just want to lay out, I understand all of the challenges from each of the stakeholders in terms of grades. What we are doing is really trying to collect some data and look at the feedback that we're going to be getting from our students, our staff, and our parents at the end of this first marking period, which is upon us, November 6th. We're going to compare the interim data to the final first quarter data and ask for feedback in terms of where we need to continue to try to make adjustments, how we can use the time that we have. Are there other things that we can be doing to really support our students in this very stressful time? And so with that, I will just say that, yes, we are also we're aware of the concerns with the timelines and sometimes the due dates in class. A practical suggestion I have is to email the teacher and say, my student needs additional time, or my student needs a little bit more time with this assignment. Sometimes it's hard for teachers in their subject area to see the cumulative effect of students taking the 6 classes and what's being assigned in other classes, because our students also take a wide range of classes. Sometimes they're taking lots of advanced classes. And so if you could as much start with the teacher and say, is there an opportunity for my student to turn this in a little bit later, needs extend a little bit more time in this area. The student I've found and continue to be impressed with our teachers because they really try really hard to change course. There were questions about why are assignments due at midnight? On one side of it, it is teachers are trying to give as much time as they can to make sure that they're able to do the assignment and get it in by a certain deadline. But on the flip side of that, I can understand how that timeline then gets into sleeping. And so that's something we'll look at as an ILT to make sure that we have more consistent deadlines. But a lot of times, and I remember teaching here myself, it's like, can we please have until the end of the day? Can I bring this essay back to you, or whatever that equivalent would be to give students more time? And in that, we might be causing just more stress for students, and that's never ever the purpose of it. So we'll go back for sure to look at that to make sure that if it's better to have more consistent deadlines, we'll do so. My suggestion is please reach out to the teacher if your student is struggling or they just need additional time, and reach out to the counselor and make sure that the counselor is aware that if your student is having some additional concerns with the workload, it really isn't a one size fits all. That's not our approach. And so we try to really work with specific and individual families to make sure that we have solutions when we encounter these kinds of concerns. The other question that's been really big is my student is feeling very drained and overwhelmed with schoolwork. Each class has quiz and at least one graded assignment a week. Many classes have unit, quarterly tests, and big assignments due on October 30th. Is there a way to build in some breaks and recharge time for students? Could there be some time for them to get away from their desk, move around, and be outside during the day? It seems the kids can use some mental health breaks. They are getting burned out. On Wednesdays, they have assignments and classes due for grades, and they are meeting with teachers. So Wednesday is not a free day. It's a full work day. And then it ends with the Friday classes are having assignments due by Saturday night. This constant schedule is becoming very stressful for our students. Is there a way that there can be some breaks and social time built in? Thank you for your consideration of this question. This is a fabulous question. We have been looking at how to use our homerooms and being able to use those as more of our wellness. For those folks who are parents who were here last year, we started implementing wellness periods last year that were attached to each period. And it did just that, gave students a break, gave students a chance to catch their breath. So we're looking at that 5th period, that homeroom time. We do push out lessons, social emotional lessons to help students understand and connect to the school, lessons about how to take care of oneself, wellness lessons. But I think that we can also use that time a little bit more for check-ins, for just kind of calming down and relaxing and getting away from the screen. I would also strongly suggest, and I should finish that thought, and we're going to be doing that for the homerooms next week and the week before the end of the quarter, that we're going to use that time for students to be able to either check in with their teachers or to do other things that they think is beneficial, and that could be walking away from the screen and just getting a little bit of time during that 5th period time. I would also suggest we've always had an environment where our students are incredibly driven. They're involved in a lot of activities, and of course, this is very different because the delivery of school is coming through the technology. I understand that, so it's important that we remove them from that. It's important that the lunch breaks are lunch breaks. That's about an hour and 15 minutes in the day. That students should get up. They should move away from the computers. They should go outside. They should stretch. They should just have lunch and to have a different experience there, because it is a long day and it is a long time in front of the computer. And I would also make the same suggestion that perhaps the breaks in between, they're short, but the breaks in between the classes, just get up, have a stretch break. If they can quickly go outside and get a breath of fresh air before their next class begins, that would also be very beneficial. And of course, after school, if there could just be a set time for an hour for just time to be away from the screen, that is incredibly important on all of those, in all of those areas. And so what we're finding is coming up and helping students build out their schedule and helping them structure their day with breaks built in. When are you going to take a break from the screen time today? Can it be at lunch? Do you have 20 minutes to go outside, or to do a little bit of physical activity after you eat your lunch or before you eat your lunch? So it's really important to have those discussions with them and to help them plan and shape their day. And in terms of school, I know that in the classroom setting itself, hopefully you're noticing, or your student is noticing, that there's a variety of instruction. There may be a little bit of direct instruction. There may be time for students to go out to their break room and do more individual work. And during that time, have them stand up, have them in the individual time, have them stand up, have them change in position and move around. I find that having to do that myself, sitting in front of the screen all day long, trying to figure out just little ways and strategies and tips. And we can certainly work through with students in our homeroom time, helping them to figure out how to take some breaks in the day. Let's see, and yes, I agree with you. This is all very, very hard, and just trying to understand the best way we can navigate this virtual world, and make sure that both socially, emotionally, as well as academically, that we're addressing the needs of our students. We're trying new things. We're not staying with what we thought would happen and what we thought would be good in August. We're going to continue to do it after the quarter ends. We'll take a look at where we are and see what kinds of adjustments, what kinds of additions we can make to continue to serve our students. Okay, another question, and I think that this is related about why are teachers allowed to have homework due on weekends, and why are so many making the due date time to be midnight? I think I addressed that in terms of trying to give more flexibility, but we'll certainly go back and look at that and see what time deadlines are and see if there can be some adjustment for that, because I get the flip side of that. In an effort to give students more time, it does promote procrastination sometimes. And so at midnight, I could see that our little teenagers are sometimes working right up until that time, or they're just working up until that time. It's not always procrastination. I totally understand that. And it can definitely interfere with their sleep and just their overall well-being. Let's see, I'm going to go to the chat. I think I answered the questions that I received prior to, and then, okay, I have a question about when school might reopen. Saw a couple of days ago from student resource announcement mentioning schools will be open in 45 days. No, so yes, you did receive an information saying that this is giving a 45-day notice regarding opening of schools, and that was part of negotiations with all of the unions, that there had to be notification given to all of the unions that there were reopening discussions around the start of school. That did not necessarily mean that schools are starting in 45 days. But we are planning for how are we returning to school? How are we going to transition to school? And I, along with a number of other leaders, are on work groups, and those discussions are ongoing, and those plans are underway. Of course, all of this is driven by the health and safety conditions and whether it is safe and when it is safe for students to return to school. But certainly at our school and in MCPS, plans are underway to figure out how we're going to transition, when we're going to transition students back. I would continue to ask you to check MCPS website for the most up-to-date information regarding when that may be. And again, it's all based on the health conditions at the time and when we can safely transition our students back to school. Okay, and then let's see, I think, there was a question about that. Can you please clarify policies dealing with reassessments and grace periods for submitting work? RM lenient based on student stressors for students. And can you address whether or not MCPS is in contact with College Board regarding AP curriculum and whether or not tests will be abbreviated as they were last year? Great question. For AP, yes, we do have a liaison at the MCPS level, and they are always in touch with College Board. And again, the decision of whether or not there will be an online test, whether or not there will be an abbreviated test, we're certainly waiting for that information, and College Board reaches out to us and gives us information. At this time, College Board has indicated that the AP curriculum should be implemented to its fullest extent, to the best that we can implement the AP curriculum. We've not had any revisions or deletions from that. And so again, you can understand how that in our current system can create some areas in which teachers are trying to implement the best they can, but also to be able to provide that leniency and context for the learning environment in which all of our students are facing. But yes, we are definitely in touch with College Board. All of our students have been registered through their College Board classes, so that if they are planning to take the AP exam, they are getting regular updates and information from their teachers. And our AP coordinator, who is Mr. Mamana, is also keeping in touch with families and also keeping in touch with teachers to give more information about AP. But at this time, we are implementing the curriculum the best we can in the full extent. All right, there are some questions around, can you explain about scholarships and college applications for seniors? Yes, we are working with seniors to complete their college application process, and we are working with them on an individual basis, and also as a 12th grade group. The counselors went into all of the 12th grade classes about 3 weeks ago to review the college application process. 12th graders should be requesting their transcripts and uploading their applications, but they certainly should be requesting their transcripts through Naviance so that we can send those to schools. And so depending on their deadlines, they may be moving a little faster, a little slower, but our big push is for them to request all of their transcripts, whether or not they've finished their applications or not, so that we can get those uploaded and we can get those to the schools in a timely fashion. The PTSA just did a fabulous workshop on Tuesday about the college application process in the time of COVID. And so if you've not had an opportunity to check out the PTSA website, that presentation was recorded, and there's some resources there that I thought were really valuable. And I think that would be a great resource. In terms of scholarships, thank you, Nikki just put it in the chat for us. And in terms of scholarships, I would suggest you contact Miss Kathleen Carr. She is our college career and information coordinator, and she has a wealth of information about all the scholarships that are available and keeps up with the scholarships as they come in. And so she would be a great person to reach out to have you and your student set up an appointment with. If there are specific scholarships that you have in mind, or if you want just more general information regarding the scholarships that are available. But there are some resources. If you also look at the counseling website, there's lots of information about the college application process. A recording around how to request information is there. And those are the same materials that we went over with both students and parents for the college application process. So it's in full swing. I know our seniors are working hard. I've been working with a few seniors on their college essays. And we know that it can also be very stressful now too, because usually they're all together clustered in the hallway talking about their college applications and getting them done. So anything you need and anything they need, the counselors and the college and career information coordinator would be a great resources for your students. Okay, there was also a question regarding, I looked at the resources on mental health for in our counseling office. I'll go back and look at those. We do update those resources. However, I'll make sure that there are more posted. Anything from immediate help, crisis center, to National Suicide Prevention Hotline, all of the resources that we have here, counselor contact, we'll make sure that is all updated in our on our counselors page. And of course, if you have any concerns and need help because you're concerned about your student, please contact your student's counselor and administrator, whomever, so that we can help put you in the right direction and help to problem solve with you to ensure that we're doing the best we can to address the needs of our students. So there's another question: what will the in-person lesson look like? Is it totally in-person or a hybrid approach? Do students have an option to request for a choice if that fits to their needs, such as totally in person or totally online hybrid? That is an excellent question. And yes, all of the plans that I have seen and understand from MCPS is that when we begin to transition to in-person learning, families will have a choice to make in terms of if they wanted to continue with the hybrid or if they wanted to return to in-person. Again, all of that communication will come out from MCPS, but yes, there will be some choice in the matter in terms of how students transition back initially. There have also been some questions regarding the news last week about Mr. Papadopoulos and the charges that are pending in terms of sexual abuse of two former students. And I want to tell you there's not a lot that I can say about that, except for it is intolerable if those allegations are true, and unacceptable. What we have focused on since learning of those allegations is ensuring that we are working with our students, particularly those students who have been involved in the football team and would have either known him or had interaction with him, and trying to do check-ins with them. I will say this: if there are any questions or concerns, and if you're talking to your students, if there is anything, have any information, please call SVID to report any information. This is still very much an active investigation from what I understand. Or if there are concerns based on the information, this is very confusing and very upsetting for all of us, but in particular our students. I think it's important that we're having conversations with our students to ensure that they understand and have their questions answered about the news and what is being reported there. So I encourage you to please sit down with your students and have those conversations and have those open and honest conversations about the allegations and how they are feeling, and really reminding them about personal body safety, reminding them about that this behavior is unacceptable, intolerable, and illegal. And so that to make sure that they understand what those boundaries are. We also implement personal body safety lessons each year for all of our students. And we actually have planned to do that in November, and we'll continue to move forward with that. And so once again, we are working to make sure that we protect our students and they understand personal body safety lesson. But right now, our immediate concern is making sure that the students who know him, that we are reaching out and making sure that we're doing the very best we can to support them during this time. Okay, I'm not sure if I got every question. I usually get distracted by the chat in ways that are not always great. So we have time. So please, if there's a question that I did not address or a question you have now, please just unmute yourself and ask your question. This is what we call Zoom wait time. Are there ways to help the kids socially connect with one another? Yes, I think the best way is for students to participate in extracurriculars, the virtual extracurriculars that we have. Either athletics or other extracurricular activities, anything that they're interested in, that is going to be our best way of having students interact and to have some more of a social space. Again, we're not at a place where we can even have students come back outdoors for any reason. So the school is still closed. And so we still are in a virtual social way for all of our clubs and activities. When that changes, we would definitely we would definitely want to be able to have students here in a safe way. And again, we're planning for that. But I think extracurriculars, many of our extracurriculars are continuing. We had an extracurricular fair where students learned about all of the extracurriculars that are offered. We have it posted on our website. So whatever you need to encourage your student to get involved would be great. I went to a drama club meeting last night. There were over 50 kids there getting ready for the first play that they're going to do. I was at a marching band end of season celebration late last week, and they're up and running. And again, there were close to 50 students there as well. And I was at a Black Student Union meeting, and there were 40 students there. Like, they're craving the social aspect. And so it's just a matter of students saying, I'm going to try it. And it was really interesting. In one of those events, they were in one of the rooms, they were going to be watching a movie. And I thought this was so fascinating that students were coming together on the computer, to watch a movie. And it just underscored again, just that wanting to connect and wanting to just be together no matter the activity. And so our staff, they're doing a really great job of also staying after at times when their schedule allows, just to let students, kind of talk and chat and have time, just a little bit of downtime. And so I would really just encourage your student to just try something new, just try it, and try a club, try an activity, trying, starting, we're registering for the winter virtual season. That might be a great way to get exposed. The coaches have been doing a really phenomenal job of finding activities to keep them engaged. So yes, I do strongly suggest that there's some sort of extracurricular activity that they just try, just one. I've heard that across MCPS, there are 1,600 kids who have not checked in for any classes at all. What is MCPS doing to try to make contact with these students? Great question. I just turned in a form today about the students that we had not connected with. And so, yes, there's a lot of emphasis on, we have a well-being team. That is one of the areas that MCPS has for all of the schools. The well-being team is responsible for tracking and monitoring students who have not engaged at all, who have disconnected, who have attendance areas, and we're trying to figure out why they are not engaging and connecting to the school. Our well-being team meets every Wednesday. And we are, and we go through all of our students, and it's not just attendance for us. We're also looking at grades. We're looking at, if there are any impacts of COVID. We're looking at a number of factors, any kind of reporting from teachers about concerns that they have. And then we set about making contact with parents, making contact with students. We are also, as you can see, MCPS is monitoring the connectivity to our online platforms. And then from there, we're able to see who's engaging and who's not engaging. Our circumstances are pretty interesting and unique, which I'm sure is across the county. For example, 3 of the students that were on our list are involved in a program at Montgomery College. So they're not going to be on our platform. They're going to be in Montgomery College, and they are interacting there. So it really is doing that digging and finding out and making sure we have areas for understanding what's happening with each individual student. And there's also, we still have technology available. So if that is the barrier, Chromebooks, then there is a system for replacing those, getting Chromebooks. Families who are having internet connectivity issues or do not have internet at home, rather, they can apply for a MiFi. So the technology should not be a barrier. And what we're finding in the students that we had on our list, there were other circumstances, and it wasn't necessarily that they weren't interacting. They had a different, they were just on a different platform. At least that was the case for some of our students. But doing that research and really understanding why they haven't been able to connect is what our role is in the well-being team. And we meet every week to make sure that we're addressing the needs of our students and our families.
Can I just ask a question?
Of course.
Sure. So I noticed that almost, well, no students are actually visible. And, when I see that, and I'm thinking, as I look at my son's screen, that if you're not going to have 4 students on video and, 15 or 20 not visible. So I'm just curious, and I could see, just what I could see is that I can imagine the teacher is visible, obviously, and you just have no idea. And I know, I haven't looked into it, but my son says it can't be required. I don't know, like, what is the, that has to be an issue for teachers. And I don't know how the engagement works, or what's the thinking around that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So students are not required to turn on their videos, and there is a host of reasons why that is the case. We are what we call a warm demander school, or requesting, we're asking if there aren't any barriers to turning on the screens to please do so. However, it's also important that we understand how students engage beyond turning on their screens. What we're finding is when we use breakout rooms, when we use smaller areas where students are asked to interact with one another, the screens come on and they are engaging through the chat or through some other way. If the teacher is giving a little assessment or they're giving a little, question. And so what we've really focused on through a community of inquiry approach, and that's what we've used to look at our virtual learning and how do we translate what we're doing in a virtual world. And this community of inquiry looks at the social presence online, the teaching presence, and the cognitive presence. And so in that social presence and teaching presence, we're asking teachers to make sure that, yes, we're making the request that the screens come on, but what are the other ways we engage students? We don't want to get into a big back and forth with students about their screens. We want to make sure that even if the screen is off, we can connect with them. We can make sure that they are responding, that they are engaged in the class. And again, it is challenging. And I think for a teacher, it's hard to look out onto the computer and talk to a blank screen. But as we start to give more, ways in which we can engage students and do the breakout rooms, for example, or something else, then we're noticing that students are engaged more so than their presence on the screen. And so we're just trying to open our mindset around how do we need to see our students. And that can be, we can see our students in a variety of ways, including the screen, but also in their chat, in the breakout rooms, in their responses to shorter little writing assignments to make sure that they are engaged overall. Okay, what is the status about the fall and winter sports? Is the county still considering moving to sports to spring? Yes, that is still being considered. The current status is that we're still in virtual sports season. We're starting the winter season and registration is well underway. So please have your students sign up for a virtual season. I think there was a question about physicals. Students will have to have a physical at a point if we're able to return. So the advice is if you can get your students' physical done now, do it, but that will not be a barrier for them to be able to sign up and participate in the virtual environment. All of our information about the winter sports season has been posted on our website as well. So that is a great way to encourage engagement. So please check out our website for our athletics department. Mr. Al Lightsey is our athletic specialist, and he can answer any specific questions you have regarding the winter sports seasons or all of our sports seasons. And I'm focused on winter because I know that registration is underway right now for our winter sports season. All right. Any other questions?
I think there was one question you might have missed about students connecting right above the last one you answered.
Oh, regarding helping students connect with each other, is there any consideration for students having an option to look up the email addresses for classmates? Ooh, that is a good question. I'm not sure I have a good answer right now, but I'll research it. So there are some privacy concerns, of course, but I will need to see what we can do to encourage if we can share, how we could possibly have students share that information. Typically, the school would not be involved in sharing emails of the students because that's sort of like giving your phone number. So I would just need to see I just need to see if there's anything we could possibly facilitate around that. I know that once students go to an extracurricular, for example, and they're asked to they're asked to give their email address for future coordination and meetings, then that's one way. And that's about as far as we would go in terms of sharing that information, that they're part of a club or organization and they've agreed to share their email to continue to get updates about it. But I can check and see if there's anything else. I know the PTSA, you do the directory, but that doesn't have student email.
Right. You'd have to go through parents. It has parent emails and phone numbers if they've opted into it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I think there's some privacy concerns to do anything beyond that. All right. I think another question, can we get any help for college application editing? Absolutely. You can start with your student's English teacher. That's a great way to get some help for editing college essays. We also have 2 really great English composition assistants. And again, Ms. Gretchel and oh my goodness, and Pat. Miss Twig, Miss Gretchel and Miss Twig, they're both available to help, and they're on our MCPS website under the English department. And I know that they have been helping, and I love to help students with their essays. It brings me back to my English teaching days. So, you know, if they are so inclined, I have a couple students who take me up on that, and I will help as well. But certainly Miss Gretchel and Miss Twig, the English teacher, and Miss Carr actually can also help with some editing for college applications and for college essays as well. To clarify, the information is available for some current classmates on MyMCPS, but not all teachers have lists of students posted. It's available for some current classmates. I'm not sure I'm understanding. Could MAB talk to me a little bit? I don't think I understand the question. I'm sorry. Or you could send me an email and I can clarify it. I'm not sure I'm totally understanding what you're asking. I do apologize. All right.
Ms. Bolden?
Yes.
Hi, I think what that might be referring to is, I believe when the student is logged into MyMCPS Classroom and they go to a certain class's actual page, it's not showing up in the parent version of it, but I think there's a list of who's in the class, like a class roster. I don't know if that has any ability to, like if you link on the student's name, it could go to their MCPS address, or if it's just a straight list of who else is in the class with them.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I will have to check on that. I think that there may be some privacy concerns about sharing it outright. So I would just need to check and see if that would be something we are able to do, that we can enable, especially for the purpose of social kind of get together, that kind of thing. But I also think you just raised an interesting question of how can we share information and that social piece of bringing students together. So I've jotted down a little note for myself, and I'll get back to that question. Thank you for the clarification and for the question. I think there's another question in the chat. Nope. Okay, are there any other, do we sign up? Do we sign up and pay for the AP tests through MCPS or through College Board? So the payment for MCPS is going to go through MCPS, and we collect payments here. You can go, I believe it's going to be on our online store, and you can pay for the AP exam there. And I believe there is an option. We can work something out if a family wants to pay by cash. It's already paid up. I know. Okay. Yeah. So that's underway now. I know that students are continuing to register for tests and right now, and then the payment will be due soon. I know a lot of families have already paid. The person in charge of AP is Mr. Joseph Mamana. And so he sends out lots of emails and lots of recordings, connect-eds regarding payment and regarding AP exams. But if you have a specific question, please contact Joseph Mamana in Outlook, and he will make sure he answers any questions about payment. But we do use the school store in order to collect payments for AP. Okay. So there's a clarification. Thank you. My point was that some student email addresses are available in the class roster, but this information is available only for current classmates in some, but not all classes. Got it. Okay, I got it. Thank you. Let me do a little bit of research. I'm not sure I have a good answer for that. I just need to see what's happening in that feature, and I can get back to everyone. Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for joining me this morning and for all of your really great questions. Like I said at the beginning, this really helps gives us a lot of feedback in terms of where there are areas of things that are happening and that are going well, and things that are areas that are really challenging for us. And you know, we try to be adaptable. We try to make sure we're responding to what we're getting and what we understand to be concerns. And so I really appreciate your time and your really great questions this morning. And we're all available. So outside of this forum, if you have questions, concerns, please just reach out to us. Or if you want to give us feedback, I love getting a little email about something that happened and you want feedback, or just give us your feedback. That really helps us to grow and to learn and to really be able to respond better to our students and to do a good job by them, because that's really what everyone is working towards. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Friday and a great afternoon and evening and weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Our students are taping It's Academic on Sunday, and this is going to be the first time that I am not going to go down to DC to see them recorded. I'll just, I guess, be at my dining room table watching them do a really great job on It's Academic. So I'm excited about that. And again, just thank you very much for being here. I will stay behind until 10 o'clock if there are any other questions. And it's really, really great to see you all. Have a great weekend.
Also, if you do find an answer to the question about the student rosters, if you send that to me, I can post it with this video, like a little PDF file next to it or something like that, so that anyone who goes back to watch it can find that answer if you find one.
Perfect. Thank you, Nikki. Nikki, can you send me a copy of the chat as well so that I make sure I'm framing the question correctly?
Yeah, when we're done recording, I can send you that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Wooden.
Bye-bye.
It's very helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, bye.
All right, Nikki, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too. And I hope that